starts right now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hey, what's happening in San Diego? And welcome to it, the 100-meter sprint version of Gwynn and Chris today. Quick program. We'll get you set for Padres pregame. Sam Levitt due up at the bottom of the hour. Padres in Pittsburgh to start another road trip. Taking on the Pirates for the first time this season. 3-game series this week. 2 teams will play again. 3-game series here in San Diego next week. It'll cost you a little bit more money to see the Pirates next year. We'll talk about that. In our short time together today, Chris Ello and the Odyssey Palace Studios. Tony Gwynn Jr. is on vacation. Matt Scraby is on vacation. You wonder how the leadership of this station allows for that to happen. 2 of the 3 stalwarts of this program vacationing at the same time. Adam Klug, what would you have done if I had filed for vacation today? You'd have to do a 40-minute show.
We'd be listening to the Adam Klug show.
Yes, you'd have to do a quick 40-minute show today. But alas, I'm here to carry us through. Padres will go with Dylan Cease tonight to start this road trip. And I'm telling you what, this guy, he is on a heater unlike really almost any pitcher I can think of in the last, this isn't Bob Gibson, 1968, where Bob Gibson threw, 15, 17 complete games and 12 of them were shutouts in a row. Those were the days. But based on what pitchers are asked to do nowadays, Dylan Cease is on about as good of a heater as somebody can be on. This guy has thrown, over his last 4 starts, an unbelievable 27 2/3 innings. He's allowed 5 hits and 1 run. He allowed 3 of those hits in his last outing against the Dodgers. He has walked 10 in that span, and he has struck out 36. So you got 15 base runners in 27-plus innings against Dylan Cease. That is what the Pirates will be facing tonight. He looks to keep it rolling. Cease, when this started, it's really hard to believe. He was 7-8 with a 4.21 ERA. And that was just before he made that final start before the All-Star break and shut out the Braves for 6 innings and started this run that he has put together. His ERA's come down by nearly a run. But I look at that and I wonder, how did that ever happen in the first place? Like, how did Dylan Cease, with the kind of stuff that he has and the domination that he is showing right now, how did he have a 7-8 record and a 4.21 ERA? And that was in mid-July or early July, July 12th. That was his stats. But now here we are on August 6th, and he's one of the most dominant pitchers right now in the National League. And so the Padres should be in good hands. Not only Cease today, but unless they change the rotation, Cease would close the road trip on Sunday in Miami. But to that end, Mike Shildt just a short time ago confirming, or at least letting everybody in on the fact, that Joe Musgrove came out of his start at Lake Elsinore the other day feeling tremendous, so much so that Mike Shildt says that Joe Musgrove's next start will be in a Padre uniform and very well could happen this weekend in Miami. And here is Mike Shildt on that. Sorry,
Talk to Joe a little bit. Any update on where he is, his timeline, progression, and what your expectation is when we might see him?
Yeah, the good news about Joe is he came out of a really good outing, day before yesterday, really feeling good. So we expect that there's a really high probability he's going to start for us his next time out, and we'll just determine what that day looks like.
Are you thinking this road trip? Or?
This road trip.
Okay, so
It will not be this series.
What's going on?
All right, so it won't be the Pirates series, but this road trip, it would have to be the Marlins series. That's the only other series on this road trip. So some really good news there. As the Padres, maybe they go to a 6-man rotation on this road trip, and they save Cease for next week back here in Pittsburgh, or against Pittsburgh when the Pirates come here. But either way, Mike Shildt getting some options with his starting rotation. That is good news. Michael King is set to get, return to action tomorrow. So all is pretty good with the Padres health-wise, except for shortstop Hassan Kim, who was scratched from today's lineup. got a minor issue with his triceps. And so Tyler Wade, where have you been? Tyler Wade will be in the starting lineup tonight in Pittsburgh. Ha-Seong Kim gets the day off, listed as day-to-day like the rest of us. So the Padres will go without Kim tonight. Luis Campusano will get the start tonight. Catching. Campusano, it's only been a few starts, but he's kind of answered the challenge a little bit from Kyle Higashioka. Higashioka stole his job. And Campusano doesn't really want to give it up that easily. This is all good for the Padres. Between their two catchers, Padres now have 20 home runs at that position. We already discussed this yesterday. Higashioka's got 13 of those. Will Smith is the National League leader among catchers with 15. And Will Smith has 200 more at-bats than Higashioka has. So Padres are getting more production power-wise out of their catching spot than anybody in the National League. Luis Arise will have tonight off as well against the left-hander Bailey Falter. That puts Donovan Solano's right-handed bat into the lineup tonight against the Pirates. So that is pretty much the update as far as the Padres are concerned as they head into play, holding on to one of those 3 wild card spots in the National League. It's going to be fun. I like the race like this. I mean, you got the Braves, you got the Diamondbacks, you got the Padres. They're all tied, or virtually tied. The Braves have a 1 percentage point lead, but all 3 teams are 9 games over 500. The Mets won yesterday in a makeup game in St. Louis, so they're a game and a half out. The thing that the Padres can do this week against the Pirates is kind of put the Pirates out of the picture a little bit. Pittsburgh's hanging around there right now, 56 and 55, 4 games back of the wild card, along with the Cardinals. It wouldn't break my heart to see the Padres take 2 out of 3 here, maybe take 2 out of 3 next week over the Pirates and kind of rid themselves of having to worry about Pittsburgh. A lot easier to make the playoffs if there's only 4 teams fighting for 3 spots than it is if there are 7 or 8 teams. The Giants are trying to hang around with the health of their pitching staff now. Maybe the Giants, they're at 500 right now. Logan Webb's pitching well. His last 2 outings has been real good, including a shutout. Snell had his no-hitter. Robbie Ray is back. So the Giants, they've won 8 out of 10. They seem to be making a little bit of a move. The Cardinals, Reds, and Cubs are fading at the moment. So we'll see how this National League wild card picture plays out, but it's a lot of fun to watch it, and it's a lot more fun if you make it. Right? I mean, it's not going to be a fun race if you don't get where you want to go. And who was it who came out with that ranking of the minor league systems today? Was that on ESPN? Mr. Klug? Kylie McDaniel, highly decorated writer for ESPN, who knows all about the minor league systems. And apparently he did a ranking of the minor league systems after the trade deadline, after everybody had gotten rid of all their prospects, etc. The Padres have gone from 4th place in the minor league rankings in the preseason, spring training, fourth place, 4th best minor league system. They currently rank 25th in the minor league system. Now, what does that mean? Not a whole lot to me, because it's just a ranking. Maybe the Padres have a bunch of guys that Kylie McDaniels doesn't know a whole lot about yet. I mean, A.J. Preller seemed to indicate that he, has a lot of guys that are going to fill in for the guys he's traded. But right now, at least based on those numbers alone, if you trade away, and the Padres, they traded 12 of their top 15 prospects. So if you include Cease and you include Arise and you include, Tanner Scott and you include everything they did and Jason Adam. So, it makes sense that the Padres now rank 25th in minor league program. The reason I bring this up is because, based on that, the Padres really have put a lot at stake into this wild card race. They really, truly have. And the only thing that is even, I'm not concerned. They're playing so well right now, but that can change. We've seen it all year long, right, where things have gone south. Padres dropped 6 out of 7 right before the All-Star break. Now, of course, they've come back on 11-3 since the break. But if the Padres were to miss the playoffs this year And right now, they're a game and a half clear of a playoff spot. That's not a whole lot. I think it's gonna be a gamble that didn't work out. I mean, you're gonna have to say it that way. So it's something I think, keep in the back of your mind. I mean, you got to play ball. You got to just go out and get your job done. You've got enough talent now. You got enough pitching to get it done. The hitting is leading the league in terms of batting average. There's no reason that the Padres shouldn't be one of the 3 wild cards, but stranger things have happened. So Padres definitely have a lot at stake as they head into the final couple of months of the season, which start tonight in Pittsburgh against the Pirates. Some other things to discuss in Major League Baseball on this Tuesday. Excuse me. Freddie Freeman last night returning to the Dodger lineup, and really a remarkable show of affection by the Dodger fans. Dodger fans are getting a lot of credit for this, which they deserve. But I got to believe that every fan base would have given a similar response to Freddie Freeman, knowing what he has had to go through with his 3-year-old child. Freeman was back in there last night, basically could hardly even step into the batter's box after the ovation that he got. That was a really nice moment for the Dodgers, who pulled off a nice victory, beat the Phillies, moved 5 games ahead of the idle Padres. In the National League West, same 2 teams will go at it tonight. Clayton Kershaw is going to be on the mound for the Dodgers, which bears watching. Obviously, Kershaw struggled mightily, did not get a strikeout for the first time in his career. A lot of people think Kershaw is done, like based on that one outing last week against the Padres, coming off the injury. I wouldn't totally give up on Kershaw quite yet. This guy's a future Hall of Famer. He's coming off a bad outing. It'll be interesting to see how he bounces back tonight against Philadelphia. I think the other game that is interesting tonight is in Oakland, because I'm kind of drawn to stuff like this. The Chicago White Sox have a chance to lose their 22nd game in a row and set the American League record.
You're wallowing in their misery, Chris.
I enjoy it.
Admittedly so.
If you're so bad, you might as well win. You might as well lose 3 more in a row and set the record outright. It's like I said yesterday. I mean, what are you going to tell your grandkids? I was almost on the worst team in Major League Baseball history, or hey, I was on the worst team in Major League Baseball history. Might as well go for it. White Sox have to lose 2 more in Oakland to get to 23, which would tie the 1961 Phillies. And then they'd come home. And their 24th straight loss, if they're able to keep it going, would be, just to make it even more agonizing for White Sox fans, their 24th consecutive loss could be to the Cubs, their crosstown rival, who they will host over the weekend. So we'll keep an eye on the White Sox. I think, not a big eye, but at least an eye on the White Sox as they go for a little baseball history here the next couple of days. We'll update you on the Olympics. Big day for Team USA in the basketball. They've run away to a 30. Let's see. They're up by 30. They've won it, actually. It's over now. They win by 35 over Brazil, 122-87. They earn their spot in the semifinals. There's some other big happenings at the Olympic Games today we'll talk about when we come back. Also, it is the 25th anniversary today of something spectacular. And if you weren't with us yesterday, we touched on it yesterday, but we will salute an amazing moment in San Diego sports history when we come back from break. We'll also update you on the latest news, which is that your pocketbook is going to be a little bit lighter if you are a Padre fan. That is still to come. Gwynn and Chris, with Chris Ello holding down the fort for a short time today, right up until Sam Levitt's Padre pregame show just after the bottom of the hour on San Diego's #1 sports talk station, 97.3 The Fan. Going it alone today. Tony Gwynn Jr. taking a dog days of August vacation, getting himself ready for the stretch drive of Padre baseball. Matt Scraby finishing up a week in Iowa with his family. He'll be back tomorrow. Scraby was at the Cubs game last night. Always feel for people who live their whole lives to go to one game at Wrigley Field, and then the Cubs get shut out. Like, you don't even get anything. I think it was Twins 3, Cubs nothing. Boring game. Minnesota kid, rookie pitcher, struck out like 9. Cubs went quietly into the night. I know this feeling because I've been to one game at Wrigley Field in my life as well, and the Cubs also got shut out in that one. If you're going to go, you want to see some excitement. You want to see the fans celebrate a little bit. Not so for Mr. Scraby last night. We'll find out about his experience when he returns tomorrow on the program. Padres and Pirates getting ready for the first of a 3-game set. If you just tuned in, Hassan Kim not in the lineup tonight, out with a mild triceps injury. But news is really good on Joe Musgrove. Mike Schilt saying that Musgrove most likely will start for the Padres in one of the 3 games this weekend in Miami against the Marlins. So some good news there on the Padre front. Mentioned the U.S. men's basketball team, 122-87. They crushed Brazil. All you need to know about this game is that the United States shot 15 of 31, 48% from three-point land. If they do that, there isn't a team anywhere that can stay within 30 points of them because you have to guard their athleticism and you have to hope that they're just not hitting from 3. But they were hitting today. Joel Embiid was 3 for 3 from the arc. Devin Booker put 5 of them in, and the U.S. dominated. They'll play Serbia in the semifinals of the Olympic tournament. That means Nikola Jokic. Serbia rallied, I think it was 24 points they made up, and defeated Australia in overtime to reach the semifinal against the United States. I thought the coolest United States performance today was turned in the 1,500 meters. It doesn't surprise me when the United States wins sprint races, the 100, the 200. I mean, we've got some of the fastest athletes in the world. But I can't remember the last time we had a really good miler to compete with the likes of Kenya and Ethiopia and whoever else. But American Cole Hocker pulled off the upset of the games today by winning the 1,500 meters. He wasn't even the number 1 American in the race, at least, statistically or in terms of rankings, etc. But he ended up winning it. I guess they did win a 1,500 meters in 2016, but it was the first time that the U.S. men put 2 men on the 1,500-meter podium since 1912. So it's been a while. And the thing about it, if you probably see it tonight if you haven't seen it yet, or on Twitter somewhere, it was an awesome race. Did you see it, Adam, at all? He came around the far turn. He got passed by 2 guys on the last straightaway, and then he came back right along the inside of the track and repassed the 2 guys that passed him. It was impressive. So
I did not catch that race, but in terms of America, obviously you mentioned the basketball team. I saw today Sydney McLaughlin just absolutely lay waste to everybody.
Yeah.
In the heat that she was in. I don't believe it was a medal race. It was just one of the qualifiers.
We can fly. We can fly.
She's destroyed. And then obviously the American women's soccer team scored the goal
scored
in
an extra time. Yeah, 1-0. Go figure. Kind of a funny score for a soccer match, but they get into the gold medal match as well. So it's a good day for the Olympic side. One other thing on the Olympic team. Jason Tatum. I think this whole thing's going to be good for him. He is, without question, one of the most talented players in the NBA. The leader of the Boston Celtics, the defending NBA champions, the highest scoring player, etc. The interesting thing is, he's only the 3rd best Celtic on this team because Steve Kerr hardly uses Jason Tatum at all. He's the 11th guy off the bench, or the 6th guy off the bench. You got the 5 starters. Then Kerr brings in 5 more guys. Tatum still isn't part of that rotation. Derek White is ahead of him in the rotation, and Drew Holiday starts. And I kind of think that Jaylen Brown is better than Tatum as an overall player myself, even though he didn't make the Olympic team. But I just wonder what's going through the mind of Jason Tatum. Here I am. I'm making $37 million a year. I'm winning the NBA championship. I can't be stopped. I score 30-plus game, and I can't get on the floor. Well, here's the answer, Jason Tatum. You have to learn to do some other things better. And I hope that he gets that lesson and comes back from the Olympics a better overall player. Either that or he can pout and be upset about the fact he's not getting to play. He scored one field goal today, 5 points. His one field goal, by the way, was a beauty. It was on a inbound from half court by LeBron, who threw it up to the rim, and Tatum went up and dunked it. That is something the American team can do without much problem. Anyway, we'll see how that goes along. Quick note for you Padre fans. And then I want to celebrate the anniversary, 25-year anniversary that we talked about earlier. Prices are going up on tickets. That's the bad news. The good news, if there is such a thing, they're not going up as much as they have in recent years. Eric Grupner, CEO of the Padres, was on with Ben and Woods this morning. He explained, I believe.
So we put a tremendous amount of time and intentionality into that analysis. And, it begins first and foremost with the continued commitment that we've made to the ballpark. Even though we didn't have a year this year where we increased payroll year over year, in fact, we've gone in a different direction this year. We've had a sustained period, extended period of years where we have really significantly increased payroll. And that's all been an effort to field year in and year out a competitive team that can compete for the playoffs and the World Series championship. And the reality of it is that comes at a cost. And I've said this before, but, the outlook that we've had for years and continue to have is, we are looking to put the very best team we can on the field. And that may look, the approach to doing that may look a little different one year versus another. But at the end of the day, that baseline commitment is there. And we're not looking to make money off of running the operation of the team. We're looking to put anything that we can generate by way of increased revenue completely back into the team and run it in a responsible way, in a way that is hopefully continues to be competitive year in and year out. So the reality of that is, inflation has, for most of the year, I think, been running in excess of 3%, but we felt like 3% was a fair and reasonable amount of increase this year, reflecting the rising costs we have of operating the business and maintaining a competitive team on the field. It was definitely at the very low end of the range that we looked at, and is meant to be a message to the fan base that nobody ever likes prices going up, even if it's only 3%. But at the end of the day, we're trying to be as reasonable as we can and acknowledge the fact that our fans are the best in baseball. They continue to show up and support us in record numbers. There's high demand to come see this team. And we're just incredibly grateful for our fans and the response that we've had and their willingness, to continue to come back and hopefully support us again next year.
I got to say one thing. Eric Grupner is the master when it comes to answering these types of questions. They're uncomfortable. Nobody really wants to announce an increase in ticket prices, but it is the reality of doing business in the world in which we live in this day and age. Eric Grupner does a great job of framing it in a way that, seems to make it a little less painful. Let's just put it that way. It is the fourth consecutive season in which the ticket prices have risen. They went up quite a bit more, though, in each of the previous 3 years than they are going to between this year and next year. I can understand some fans upset because the payroll is down, but you're still paying for the payroll raise of the previous 3 years. The Padres were they had the third highest payroll in baseball, I think, last year. They had to cut that back to get under the luxury tax. But this is the price of, being successful. I feel for everybody who has to fork out the money to go to ball games, but this is what it is. The Padres, this is the fifth consecutive year that they've been playing meaningful games all season long, from day one until the end of September. Haven't got to the playoffs every one of those years. Haven't got to a World Series in that time frame. Understood. But I think the most you can expect from your baseball team is that they're competitive and they're giving you a competitive product, year in and year out. And if you look at the history of the Padres, that's never happened before. This has never happened before. Fifth consecutive year of being relevant. So, this is what you got to pay for. If you don't want to pay it, don't go. I don't know what other option you have out there. But I do feel for the people that, put in everything they got to go support this baseball team. They feel sometimes like when ticket prices go up, it just doesn't work out that in order to maintain a franchise that they take salary away from all the players. Seems like that would be the best way to do it. Manny Machado, instead of $30 million, he can make $29 million, and we can do it that way. But that's just not how it works, and it's never worked that way, and it never will work that way. So, anyway, my message to Padre fans: I'm sorry for this news, but it is what it is. If you want to stay competitive in the world of Major League Baseball, and I think most of you still want that. 25 years ago today, we had one of the great moments in Padre history. If you don't know what it is by now, enjoy.
Smith is ready. Gwynn waiting to pitch. There's a drive, right center field, base hit, and there it is! Oh, doctor! You can hang a star on that, baby! A star for the ages for Tony Gwynn, number 3,000.
Tony Gwynn's 3,000th hit did come 25 years ago today, August 6th, 1999, in Montreal. Came in a 12-10 Padre victory over the Expos that day. And by the way, if you're wondering, in true Tony Gwynn fashion, he began that night with 2,999 hits. He finished it with 3,003 because that was a 4-hit game for him on the night he got his 3,000th hit. And, it does deserve mention, certainly today. It's also the 31st anniversary of his 2000th hit, because he got that on August 6th as well, but 6 years previous to it. Tony Gwynn, one of only 33 baseball players in the history of the sport to reach that milestone. Is that it already? I was just getting warmed up, Adam. All right, Sam Levitt's next with the Padre pregame show. Padres and Buccos coming up. And then we'll be back tomorrow to recap what we saw tonight. Thanks for being with us. For Tony Gwynn Jr., Mr. Scraby, who returns tomorrow, I'm Chris Ello. Enjoy Padre baseball coming up next on 97.3 The Fan.